One of the great stories to come from the 2024 Windsor Spectacular was the performance of the Upper Hawkesbury Powerboat Club's Chris Hearne in the National Drivers' Championship. The explicit driver taking the fight to the best in the country to emerge from the event as the round winner in what may be his last major race as a driver before handing the reins to eldest son Liam, acknowledging that it's time to retire from active competition almost 50 years after he and his brother Tony first started competing on the Hawkesbury.
We started off ski racing many years ago. Ended up with our own 6-litre boat called Krakatoa. I used to ski and Tony used to drive. We ended up winning the 6-litre class in the bridge-to-bridge, that type of thing. Tony and I, both marine engineers, once we started going away, sailing on ships, going internationally and that type of thing, we sort of drifted away from it for a while. We liked working on the boats and that type of thing, and doing the cylinder heads and the blocks and building the engines. I did leave sea for a while there once time, went and worked with Scholar Developments, did a lot of cylinder head work and race car performance gear over there. Both of us got to a stage where we wanted to have another go, looking at the different boats, and went to all the races, and so we ended up with one of the first sailboats running around, really. There'd been a couple of that Malcolm had made previously, but it was one of the first regular runners in the 6-litre class, and that was the boat that's now Rooters.
15 years in the 6-litre category led to many successes with Chris's driver, Tony having turned his time to crewing the explicit machine, the pair ultimately deciding that the cost of being competitive against the next generation of NASCAR engines coming in from the States was getting too prohibitive, so they shifted their focus to joining the unlimited category.
We weren't going to go any faster without spending huge amounts of money. Say the last Dodge engine I hurt, we blew it up. I got the deal of a lifetime on a brand new R5 block from America. But the deal of a lifetime, by the time it was air freighted here, cleared customs, freight, all the rest of duty and everything else, it ended up $10,000 by the time it was delivered into the garage here. Now, without a word of a lie, the block that's in that boat now was $200 delivered. And it's making probably 700 horsepower more.
Whilst most unlimited teams have turned to supercharged or twin-turbo V8s, the Hearns went a completely different direction with stunning results.
That was Tony's idea. He said he'd been having a look around at the time to see what we could do different to try and afford to go racing. You know, we were sort of getting to the stage where we thought, we can't keep throwing that type of money at it all the time. And running them on the razor's edge, the one thing with those NASCAR engines, if something goes wrong, that goes wrong big time before you can even think about shutting it down. He came with the suggestion that, you know, a lot of people pulling decent horsepower out of these things. It was relatively cheap to have a go at it, so we decided, well, we'll try and do one on the cheap side a bit, and just to see if it would work, you know? And it seems to have worked all right. First time ever with a turbo engine. So I did as much research as I could and got to try and get it as right as possible. And nobody has really used one of these things for the purpose that we use it for. We started off slightly smaller than what we needed, and then saw Pulsar Turbo. They were making equivalent ones to the Garrett Turbo that we thought would be right. The one that we're running now, we've got it limited to around 38 to 40 pounder boost, but it'll have 40 pounder boost at 4,500 revs and 40 pounder boost at 8,500 revs. It doesn't need to spin up to get that. Yeah. Even with the horsepower it's producing, there's quite a lot of the standard basic Ford components still in it. 6-cylinder, 4-litre, twin overhead cam. They were quite a very torquey engine in the XR6s and that. Every Falcon taxi that anybody got into could guarantee it was a Barra engine in it. And most of them were probably gas engines, and they're the ones that everybody chases. The stock cast crankshafts and things like that, we thought, that's just, rather have a bit more security, a bit more reliability up our sleeve, so we decided to go with a billet crank and rods and that type of thing. They make a lot of power down low, but they'd roll over pretty early because they were long stroke. And from the experience that I had with the 6 litre, drivability and the spread of the power would be a big benefit. So that's why we went for the D-stroke version to give us a bit more of a rev range and to keep the revs up a bit. It's a guesstimation, but we think around the 1500 horsepower mark. We haven't got maximum torque coming out of the turns. We're actually bleeding a lot of power off coming out of the turns to keep the boat drivable. If we just turn everything up to the max, the boat just throws itself out of the water. It's virtually undrivable. There's not too much left in it now. Horsepower-wise, you could probably pull a lot more horsepower out of it, but if we go for more power now, we're probably going to lose some drivability. It's quick enough top end. I don't think it's never going to be as fast as some of those big boats. The fastest we got at Windsor was 146. Other boats were reported as doing well into the 150s, and I well and truly believe that. At one point, when I did do 146, I know Odin went past me down the outside, and he was doing at least 10 mile an hour quicker than me.
He may have nabbed the biggest win in his career by taking out the National Drivers' Championship final at Windsor, but despite driving as well as ever, Chris has decided to hand over the reins.
Yeah, it's great that I can still do it. To do the boat justice, a young bloke with a bit of training, it's just natural. He's got to be faster than somebody who's 63, 64. The way that the thing's set up now, it's the driver, not the boat. So we've got to be sure of what we're going to do by the time we go to Melton in February. I'm reasonably confident that he'll be good to go.